I hated practicing when I first started, and finding the motivation to pick up your guitar and practice is oftentimes the #1 hardest part of learning guitar. So is it just about toughening up, biting down, and pushing through it? Or can we still make progress while loving every step of the process? Well, in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what I did to transform my practice from something boring and draining into something fun and energizing. So I'm gonna break this down into two main parts: the environment, and then the practice itself. Let's start with the environment. Where you spend your time practicing matters a lot more than you think. So we need to create a space that makes us want to pick up our guitar and play. Now, of course, we'd all love to have a huge professional studio out back that we can escape to, but that's not really an option for most of us. So a good practice space is going to look wildly different depending on where you live, but also what you prioritize. So let me share a little bit about my space and why my setup looks the way that it does. So I live in an apartment in the city, but I'm lucky enough to have a separate room that I could turn into a little dedicated studio. And there are a few things about a space like this that are really important to me. The first is that my guitars are super accessible and within arm's reach at all times. I don't want to dig through a closet or even go open a case when I feel the urge to practice or work on an idea. Next, I want to have the option of using a real amp. Now, I live in an apartment, and that means I have to keep the volume way down. And a solution for this is this load box that converts the speaker signal to digital. So I can literally crank my tube amp and have a digital mic'd speaker go into my computer. This also gives me the flexibility to use all of my pedals as well. Another very important thing to me is a plug and play solution. I spend most of my time at this computer, and when I have an idea or I just want to jam to something that I'm listening to or watching, I want to be able to spin around, grab a guitar, plug it in, and go. So I have this quad cortex connected to my computer and it stays on at all times. Then there's a cable coming out from under my desk with a volume pedal. So all I need to do is plug in the cable, push down on the pedal, and I'm getting great guitar sounds right into my headphones. So I have analog-ish with the amp and the flexibility of digital at my fingertips. Another thing is overall vibe of the space. For me, that's some good moody lighting, artwork, plants, and a few other things that represent me. Now, you may have more space than me or possibly a whole lot less. Maybe it's just a little corner of a bedroom. Either way, I'd encourage you to do everything you can to turn that space into a little musical sanctuary. Make it feel inspiring, inviting, and peaceful. Keep your guitar out on a stand with a tuner right there so it's easy to grab. I'd also recommend, and this is a super big one, having some way to play along to music very easily. It can just be a speaker to play that music, or my favorite solution is any sort of audio interface connected to a computer or tablet. That way you have some control. You can use a music player, streaming service, or YouTube to find songs and backing tracks to jam with. You should also consider reducing or removing distractions from wherever you sit down to play. So leave your phone in the other room and do your best to establish a little privacy by closing the door or using the quietest corner of your home. With all this stuff, it's really about reducing friction so that you're more focused, relaxed, and motivated to pick up your guitar more often. I am very curious about the guitar setups you guys have as well, so please leave a comment below this video and tell us what your setup looks like. Okay, so let's talk about the actual practice itself. Now, there is one thing that contributes more to your progress than anything else. Do you know what that is? It's the overall amount of time you actually spend playing. Yes, there are ways to optimize and make better use of that time, but just picking up your guitar and playing it, no matter what it is you're playing, will have the most dramatic effect. Now, we all have limited time and probably can't spend 8 hours a day with our guitars. So how do we motivate ourselves to fill what little free time we do have with more practice? The answer is super simple. It's fun. Our time with the guitar needs to become something we are excited about, where rather than counting down the seconds until you can stop practicing and put the guitar away, you're looking up at the clock and realizing you've been jamming for 3 hours and you were supposed to go to bed 2 hours ago. This is where the 90-10 rule comes into play. And I've shared this with many of my students who struggle to stay motivated. Spend 90% of your practice on the fun stuff and 10% on the necessary boring stuff. So the fun stuff can be different for everyone. For me, it's just playing creatively along to my favorite songs. So not playing them as they're written, but just kind of coming up with my own ideas over songs that I really like. I'll show you a quick example.
Slow traffic cause me stress. No panic, I'm just born in a dress. And I know that I'm older, I'm done. I'll do what I want. Spending some at the gym, trying to fit. Running the days until I meet my future husband. I try to be kind to myself. I said, girl, you got this.
I find this to be really addictive, and I can just sit here for hours doing this with song after song. But your fun stuff might be different than mine. For you, it might be learning and playing through a bunch of songs that you love, or it might be simply improvising solos over backing tracks. No matter what that fun thing is, if it gets you playing, then spend 90% of your time on that. With the other 10%, that's where you put the work. A little bit of theory, the new technique, or the memorizing of new chord and scale shapes. There is one little trick that works especially well here, and that's wrapping some of the work into the fun stuff. Think of it like when you have to give a dog their medication and you wrap it up in a treat or a piece of cheese. You're getting the benefits without it feeling like you're doing a homework assignment. So you're learning a new set of triad shapes, try adding them as variants to the chords in a song that you know. You're trying to get a new scale shape up to speed? Practice it over your favorite backing track instead of by itself. Maybe your sense of rhythm needs some work. Well, when you're playing over a song, treat it like a metronome and experiment with different rhythmic patterns. There are so many creative ways that you can turn these things into something fun. Plus, you get the added benefit of kind of skipping ahead and applying that skill or shape directly to music. So if you're struggling to find motivation, don't stress so much about having the perfect practice routine and just focus on having fun. I promise it'll help. And if you do want a more structured practice routine, I've shared my own in this video right here. So go check that out next if you want to. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.